Welcome to the Karting1 SuperKart Championship, the season finale. We've finally made it to the end. We've got a championship decider this evening, which I think is fantastic. Real weather's on, so it might be wet, it might be dry. I don't know. Depends what the weather's doing over at Oulton right now. So fingers crossed, it's going to be a bit of a wet and dry race. Hopefully, who knows? But So everybody tuning in, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, whether you watched it live, whether you've watched it after the event or caught up with the videos that I've posted on YouTube and that kind of stuff. I think for everybody involved, it's great to see that so many people have enjoyed watching the racing. The main thing for me is to have some sort of entertainment, and I thought these sort of supercarts was a real good avenue to do that kind of thing. So yes, thank you to everybody that watched and is watching. And I also wanted to say thank you to everybody who's helped get this championship up and running. So, you know, you got the Alpha Live boys, James Fitzhugh and Luke Austin have done a fantastic job in all of the sort of broadcasting stuff and helping behind the scenes with some server stuff as well. Glenn Guest from Pulse Simulation. Without him, we wouldn't have a server. He got it all set up for us. And the commentators, Will Dendy, Chris McCarthy, Anthony Jordan and James McMahon from Kart Pulse. You know, you've made the championship entertaining to watch for everybody watching and everybody involved. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys and the competitors, all the competitors that have signed up and have raced. I think that we've had some really good close racing. It's been fun chatting to everybody on the Discord, and hopefully after the season's finished, you can all get back to racing karts for real. And yes, it might be a bit of a long-winded intro, everybody, but I think, yeah, hope you've enjoyed the racing. And let's crack on. Let's head over to Will and Anthony right now, and they can talk you through this evening's action. So, yes, let's go.
Well, hello, one and all. Thank you very much there, Alan, for the kind words chatting about the championship that we have got going on ahead today. It's the final round of the Karting1 SuperKart Championship, and we've come to probably the most challenging circuit in the championship, Oulton Park. It's a narrow, twisty circuit with a lot of undulations and bumps, and as we know throughout this championship that these karts do not like this. Joining me, I'm your commentator, Anthony Jordan. Joining me again is Will Dendy. Will, how are we?
I'm great, thank you, DJ. I'm very excited to have this final round, and I think it's been brilliant that we've travelled all over Europe and even travelled through time back to 1975 for the British SuperKart Grand Prix. But DJ, I went strawberry picking earlier, and I'd filled about half a punnet, and all of a sudden it started raining, and then it went dry again. So I really think that we could have, potentially some showers here this evening. What do you think?
Well, I have to say, I'm usually based at Silverstone. I'm not at Silverstone today. I'm away in Leicester, and at the moment it is, the weather outside is not looking the greatest. It's been on and off today with scattered showers and sunshine. I sound like a weatherman here, but yes, there is a possibility for a chance of a drizzle in today's round, which I'm sure will spice things up a little bit with these karts. Of course, the short wheelbase, twitchy karts themselves, even in the dry, let alone in wet conditions. I can't imagine what it's like to drive one of these things in wet conditions.
We've seen some of the drivers struggling to keep it on the island at the best of times. So I think if it were to rain, and particularly on this very bumpy Oulton Park circuit, I think there's definitely going to be a few more retirements and maybe some incidents than we've seen over the past few rounds.
Well, I would say that even if it was dry, I mean, you have to remember the last couple of rounds we've been at big Grand Prix circuits, Silverstone. I could name a couple more, but I've gone tongue-tied at the moment, so I can't name more. I can't even remember the last round that we were at. What was the last track's name we were at?
I think
Paul
Ricard.
Yes, thank you.
Seems like a long time ago.
Tongue-tied. I completely forgot. It was, yeah. See, it was a whole week ago, yeah. So Paul Ricard, the last circuit. Of course, yeah, massive, big, wide circuits, but completely different kettle of fish for this one. Narrow, twisty, bumpy, with harsh curbs. It's going to be an interesting one, especially at turn one. I've seen in the group chats of some of the drivers going, turn one's going to be an absolute nightmare.
It always is in cars, and I think cars are much more sedate than these karts. So yeah, I think definitely the championship contenders Alan Dove and Daniel Fletcher will be looking to get through cleanly. By the looks of it, Alan Dove and Daniel Fletcher are 1-2 at the moment, so no doubt they'll be keeping it safe through turn one, and we might see some incidents throughout the field. But Alan and Daniel, yeah, doing well in qualifying now, and it's between them for the championship, isn't it, DJ?
Well, pretty much, yes. I mean, we were supposed to have again Sam Fowler. We don't seem to have him. I don't know where he's gone or if he's here, but we don't see him. And of course, he was second in the championship at the moment. But yeah, at the moment, it does seem to be Daniel Fletcher and Alan Dove. They seem to be battling hard at it. Alan Dove slightly faster than we saw in qualifying earlier on, which unfortunately you guys didn't see. But again, there's nothing between them. Half a tenth between them. So it's incredibly close. I look forward to the race itself just to see what happens. And of course, we've got the reverse grid again that we've had from previous rounds, so that's always going to be an interesting one for here as well. And of course, we don't have the rolling starts. We saw the drivers struggle in it in many other rounds. I know it's not difficult to do it, but these drivers seem to struggle with it. We won't name names, but yes, they do. But going into it, so static starts from now on for this one. And of course, I think that's probably the best call, especially at this narrow circuit.
I think so, and I really can't decide who I think is going to win today. We've seen some brilliant racing from Alan Dove and some dominant performances from Daniel Fletcher. So I just really, Alan's slightly faster, but I mean that's by hardly anything. So it really is hard to make my mind up. And we, like you say, we haven't got Sam Fowler along, which is such a shame because he was always brilliant to watch. And Jack Dex is missing as well, who's been a consistent performer, normally coming in fourth, having a few troubles and still finishing fourth. So shame not to see him. But we do have Alpha Live's very own Luke Austin racing, who's taken a wildcard entry. So grids are in apparently, so we'll get those up on the screen in a bit. But yeah, Luke Austin, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Well, yeah, especially so. I mean, all drivers are coming into the championship. It's great to see new drivers taking part in sim racing, and you too at home can take part in sim racing as well via the Pulse SimSport team as well. You can be part of this. These guys looking for some drivers. You can contact these guys on many different forms of social media, Twitter, Facebook, anything like that. And they can be right there with you to join a team and have a go at sim racing as well on many different platforms, Assetto Corsa, rFactor 2, and of course with iRacing as well. So lots of different platforms for you to practice on and take part. So if you do want to have a go, join Pulse SimSport team, give them a contact, and hopefully they can get you on track and see what you can do, really, so you can be a part of any sim racing. There we go, up on your screen now. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on, and definitely the guys to get in contact with if you want to get involved in sim racing itself.
Yeah, definitely. I think sim teams really help with setups, and simming, as all the viewers will know, is such a competitive world that having those friends online can really help you to improve your performance. And yeah, check out me reviewing Simply Races Pro Sim. So go over to Alpha Live and check out this video, like and subscribe, and leave a comment, and we'll be looking at doing more Simply Race and Alpha Live content. So let us know what you'd like to see.
Yeah, well, here we go then. Here's the grid for the first race of the final round, the one we've all been wanting. Alan Dove there starting on pole position, 92.595. Daniel Fletcher very close behind him, as we were saying there, less than a tenth or just over a tenth of a second between those two. Very, very close. Steve Calvert in third place. Then it's Rich Puddle in fourth place. Ocean Sharkey in fifth place. Tony Moore in sixth. Dean Hale in seventh place. And Jonathan Bell in eighth. 95.6678 from him. Rodney Rayborn, a new name, I think, to the championship. Not seen that one before. In ninth place, he's beating Jack Bird to the top 10 spot. 96.7002 from him. Luke Austin, slow out on track, apparently. The Alpha Live man himself. I think he's done the graphics himself, I believe. So, yeah, I think he's happy with his pace, and he's classing himself as slow. Harry Buck in 12th, and Andy Dean in 13th place. But yeah, only, like I say, 13 drivers for this one. We're missing a couple, of course, that we've had from previous rounds, which is a shame. But of course, we've got Lucas and a couple of new names there joining us for this round. And what a rounder can they are joining us for. Oulton Park, a tricky circuit nonetheless. And, you know, I've not raced here. I don't think I've actually ever been to Oulton Park itself in real life. It's such a shame. I need to go, in fact, and have a go myself. But of course, 17 corners in total that we're going around on this track, a long track, and it's going to be a very tricky one. But here we are on the grid. You can see the drivers lining up, ready to go. Of course, this is that transition period from when the session was actually started to giving them 30 seconds to actually get themselves on the grid. So if you do see any karts missing, it's yet to join the actual session. But as you can see now, they have all joined. And we're going to get this first race underway for the final round of the Karting1 SuperKart Championship. As we go on board here, further down the grid, looking like 8th place, I believe, Jonathan Bell, or Dean Hale in 7th place, I should say, who we're on board with. As you can see, lights starting to go, revs rising, and away we go for race 1 of round 5 in towards turn 1 now. And you can see it's all Daniel Fletcher side by side with Alan Dove as they go through. It looks like Alan Dove's those managed to get the pip through turn 1, still side by side. Daniel Fletcher, Steve Calvert as they go down in towards Cascade, and it's Richard Puddle in 4th place who we're on board with now as he's managed to get the cutback on Steve Calvert, I believe it was. But no, has he managed to stay behind? He has, yes. So still 4th place for Rich Puddle. I have to say, though, Will, nice and clean through the first couple of corners.
I really thought Daniel Fletcher had Alan there. He got such a great launch off the line that Alan managed to get through into first. So Richard Puddle's a new name that we've seen, and he's very impressive up in 5th. I'm surprised that he lost out there, but yeah, Oisin Sharkey right behind Stephen Calvert. So yeah, he looks like he's going to the outside for this. Oh, he's just not got the pace in a straight line. But yeah, there's challenges all the way through. So now we follow Alan Dove, who's got a nice little gap already. There's not a huge straight here, so I think the slipstream won't be as strong as other places. So that 6 or 7 tenths is a nice little gap here.
Yep, on board with Ocean Sharky, 4th place for him at the moment. He's looking down Steve Calvert at the moment in 3rd, trying to hunt him down. And as you were saying, yes, the slipstream is not really going to take effect here at this circuit. It's, again, not many long straights compared to Paul Ricard that we were just actually, I remembered it that time, for round 4. And of course, there were long straights there where the slipstream had a massive effect on drivers, but unfortunately not as much here at Oulton Park. Of course, we're running the full international circuits, and who is that? Steve Calvert, or is that Daniel Fletcher?
That's Fletcher.
It was Daniel Fletcher.
Fletcher.
Yep, the 2nd place man leading the championship as well, with a huge disaster.
And lucky he kept it out of the wall. It's very easy to just bounce up in the air and crash into the wall, and we've seen drivers through much less spectacular incidents going out of the race. So I think Daniel Fletcher will be able to get up the order again, but that won't have done his tyres any good. I think tyre saving will be definitely a good strategic move here.
Yep, definitely so. Tyre strategy is going to be a difficult one here at this circuit. Rodney Rayborn here that we're looking at 9th place. He's hunting down Jack Bird at the moment. He's had a great recovery from his original qualifying spot. He's up 2 spaces at the moment in 8th place as we go through the chicane here. Again, very crucial to stay off those curbs. Near flat out through this corner. A slight lift as you get back onto the power now. Up the gears onto this not straight, but is a straight. So through this one into the very fast corner. Harry Buck, we're looking at now. He's 6th place in that nice pink car. He's got Daniel Fletcher all over the back of him. Of course, the recovering Daniel Fletcher, he was in 2nd place after that disaster through turn 1, clipping that outside curb and losing some spot. As you see there, nicely sent down the inside, taking back 6th place. Back on board now, Harry Buck, 7th place, looking at the Daniel Fletcher. Yeah, you can see how much the kart's moving around and jostling through this corner. And it's fantastic to see the kart control that these guys have got. But as you can see, Daniel Fletcher back into 6th place. Now under pressure, though, from Harry Buck, who looked for a move down the inside of that very fast corner, but not making it done. looking ahead at the 31. Dean Hale now is Daniel Fletcher, and again he's going to look to the inside here. It's not a place you would usually overtake, but in towards the shell hairpin. Is he going to try for a move here? Not quite. He's not close enough.
He was close to dropping a wheel on the grass, and that would have sent him right across the track into the wall. So really lucky there. But Daniel Fletcher's on edge. I don't think any of the other drivers up to third will be putting up too much of a fight. Just as I say that, Harry Buck looks to the inside. But yeah, Daniel Fletcher really looking pressured here. Oh, wow, what a lunge.
Oh, Fletcher down the inside. Bold move from him as he tried to get down the inside of Dane Hale, and it didn't look like it paid off, and now he's under pressure again from Harry Buck, who's all trying to get back on that position. Of course, this is a battle for position. You may have seen Fletcher's name up at the top of the grid, but they are not being lapped. These are racing for position. If you are just joining us, and again, as Fletcher goes very wide, he's made another mistake. Back on board with Fletcher, and you can see the curbs there massively playing with the cars, and it's all gone terribly wrong for Daniel Fletcher.
And DJ, if it'd gone into the wall forwards, you know, these karts don't have reverse gear, so he can't do that thing that every karter has done and like push their kart back by putting their hands on the front wheels. This is simming, so yeah, that was really lucky from Daniel Fletcher. So
yeah, definitely so. Luke Austin, who we're with now, 11th place with Tony Moore, more or less under pressure from Luke Austin.
We are
nice pun there if you didn't catch that one.
But we are contractually obliged to be nice to Luke. So cracking driving here from Luke. Brilliant. Oh, who's this?
Oh, I'm not.
Look at that, a huge shot. Rodney Rayborn.
I think it was.
Oh, it's a massive pile-up. That's Fletcher off. Fletcher's in the wall.
Is it Fletcher? Who else have we got?
Yeah.
There's wheels on the track. Andy Dean's involved. Kart stuck in the gravel. I'm trying to look at my timing screen. I think, is Jonathan Bell one of those drivers involved as well?
I think
is it Fletcher as well?
To get a replay of...
We don't think we have a replay, unfortunately, of that, no. That's a huge disaster then, to find out who they were. We'll try and give that information to you and find out who it was. I think Daniel Fletcher, again, was also involved. I believe also Dean Hale. Dean Hale was involved. And again, I think it was also Rodney Rayborn. So Daniel Fletcher, Dean Hale, Rodney Rayborn and Andy Dean all off on one corner with a huge shunt. The biggest shunt we've probably seen in the championship.
Yeah, that was a big pile-up. And there's someone off in the background. Who's that? Number 4. It's Puddle.
I believe Rich.
And it's lucky
Rich Puddle off as well. Again, luckily he stayed away from any barriers
large
there.
Bodies
Managed to get away with that one. Yeah, any large. Well, yeah, there we go. Coming up with the puns as well, are we? It's the final round. We can do it. We're allowed. But yeah, Rich Puddle there. Huge disaster again for him through these corners. You just see it's the curbs that are playing havoc and the edge of the circuit. And again, it's huge disaster. What a shunt from that one. He's hit an invisible wall. He's pulling off to the side, and that looks like it's going to be another retirement. We were saying that this circuit was going to be absolute carnage, and it is proving to be that now with 5 karts out of the running straight away. He's been gifted this. He's been gifted this. He's barely practiced at all, and he's up into 5th. But with huge lockups there as well, going into some of the chicanes, you can see struggling. It's the first time out testing in these, and hearing him in the group chats earlier on, he was saying about how difficult it was to drive it. But anyway, let's go back to your race leader at the moment. We're on lap 5. It's Alan Dove leading the way comfortably by over 5 seconds, Will.
Yeah, this is massive for Alan, and now he can just sit back, look after his tyres, make sure he doesn't use all of the track just to avoid putting a wheel on the grass. Also, you know, one thing that when you're leading, you're concerned about is back markers. But what with only 9 runners, I don't think we'll get to the point where Alan's overtaken anyone. So Alan can just sit back and drive round. And of course, now that Daniel Fletcher hasn't finished, he doesn't get the advantage of the reverse grid. So Alan will be starting ahead of Daniel Fletcher again and can hopefully make his way through the field. But I'd be really interested to know what this does to the championship with the drop scores that they have. I'd really love to know.
Well, The only way you can find out, Will, is get a calculator out, figure it out, because I'm terrible at maths and I'm definitely not going to have a go at it. So there we go. I'll leave that one in your very capable hands. Find a calculator, give that one a bash. But yeah,
Or,
as I say, over 5 seconds of a gap. Yeah, go on.
if anyone knows on YouTube, please let me know if someone's watching.
Yeah, that's another thing that I do. Yeah, give people at home the chance to do it for us, and yeah, let us know what you think. If you do have any comments or anything like that, do let us know. Put your comments in, and we'll try and give them a bit of a shout out. Back towards Harry Buck, 4th place for him. Now, he did have a 4th place finish in the first race of the last round, round 4, Paul Ricard. So, you know, it's definitely one to keep an eye on this one, and he's doing well. I'm going to put that on the fact that we've lost quite a few drivers. We also lost Jack Bird as well. I'm not sure what's happened to him, but he's showing up in the pit lane as well. So that's a huge disaster from him as well. So interesting to see. We've lost half the grid. 7 drivers left on the circuit. Yeah, it's still all to play for, though, I would say, with how much drivers are struggling to keep control. And Harry Buck there with fantastic car control, holding on to that one through turn 1. As you can see, that's taken out many of other people. And Harry Buck holding on to that one through that very difficult corner. But what a fantastic race so far. 5 minutes left on the clock on this one, Will.
Yeah, so we go over to Jonathan Bell, who's in 6th now, not too far behind Luke. So we'll see what happens there. But just imagine if it was raining, DJ. I mean, we've lost half the field and it's dry. This is like Monaco in '96, where only 3 finished. How many more will we lose? But yeah, Jonathan Bell looks like he's going well. No rhyme intended there. Yeah, over to you, DJ.
Well, yeah, it was very, very lucky you kept on talking well, because my feed to the stream went a little bit glitchy there, so I lost it for quite a while. So hopefully it looks like it's come back now, so that's all good. But yeah, no, it's been a very interesting race from that aspect. But yeah, so Will, talk us through again just what we think for the next race. Who do you think we're going to see on top of that one in terms of overall pace that we've seen in this one, and of course who's going to actually try and shove to the front after all these retirements that we've seen?
Well, I think Daniel Fletcher and Alan Dove are quick, and we know that they're both good through the traffic, but it really seemed like the pressure got to Daniel Fletcher a bit in the last race. Once he fell behind Alan, he looked like he was just pushing a bit too hard, and then he made a few mistakes, and then when it dropped a few places, he made a few more mistakes, and I'd really love to know what happened in that huge pileup we saw. 4 karts. I'd love to know, yeah, who caused it, and whether it could have been avoided at all. So I think Daniel Fletcher's got a lot of pressure on him for the next race. And he won't want to be DNFing, but he does also need to get a great result. So yeah, the championship's anyone's for the taking for now.
There we go.
Alan,
again, apologies if there's it. Yeah, apologies if there's a bit of the audio delays, but yeah, my thing keeps going in and out, so I do apologise for that one. But yeah, back on board, Alan Dove, first place, over 2.5 minutes left on the clock, not much left to go, but he's increased that gap now, 6.5 seconds between himself and Ocean Sharky there in 2nd place. Again, great race from all of these drivers that we've seen so far to just keep these karts on the track. Here he is, the man himself in 2nd place. This is Sharky, who we're looking at now. Keep him away from that lake. We don't want any shark-infested waters.
Oh, DJ. Just to give the viewers a bit of context, we were having a bit of a pun session before the race, and DJ was remarkably quiet, which is a shock because DJ is the pun master of anything he commentates in. He told us he was saving them, and obviously, yeah, he's busting them all out now. So DJ, I don't want to tempt fate here, but if you had to pick a driver of the championship, and I know we've still got one race to go, but before that last race, who do you think that it'd be?
Driver of the championship? Well, we can't do that yet. We can't decide a driver of the championship And do you know why? Because the championship itself isn't over yet, Will. You're jumping the gun. We can't decide that yet.
Preliminary driver of the championship.
Oh,
Yeah.
Preliminary. That is a tough one. You know, I think I'm going to give it to Steve Calvert, because he's I would say that he's been the dark horse in this one. He's come back through the field, and he's got quicker progressively throughout the championship. And you know, it's great to see him through there. He's been just consistent, I would say, with his positions.
I was thinking exactly the same, DJ. He started off and was kind of mid-grid, and then he worked his way to the front and managed to keep under pressure from drivers like Jack Dex, and he's done a cracking job all the way through. I think he's 4th in the championship, maybe 3rd. Brilliant performance from him. Daniel Fletcher's been great, and I mean, just for pure entertainment and value for money, Alan Dove has got to be high up there. Who would expect, you know, Alan to disqualify himself and crash before the start? And he's just, you never know what's going to happen with Alan. So he really makes it so much fun to watch and to commentate on.
Well, I say he's probably the most unpredictable driver we have out on that field, and to see what he might do as we go back on board with him through these tricky corners. But there you go, you can see the knack that he's got there. He's staying off those curbs, stay away from the edge of the circuit, keep that car under straight and narrow, keep between the white lines, and that's the way you're going to get it around this track. And of course, we've seen many drivers make those mistakes, and it's definitely a tricky circuit, and I think a great circuit to do at the end of this race. But round the final corner, then comes Alan Dove as we go on board with him to take the checkered flag. Is he going to take the checkered flag? It does sound like he is running out of fuel potentially, but no, he is making it to the checkered flag there, cross the line. He takes the race win for race 1 of round 5, but a great recovery from him. And then Oulton Sharkey there kept it out of the lake, and here comes Steve Calvert, 3rd place. Great race from him. Harry Buck coming round the final corner, final couple of corners I would say, into 4th place. Great race from him. That's 2 4th place finishes for him in this championship. Luke Austin, the next driver to cross the line, probably the fastest driver in the world, and I'm not saying that because he sometimes pays me.
That's right, definitely one of the best drivers we've ever seen. And obviously there was a problem with his kart because he only finished 5th. But yeah, amazing result from Luke, considering that he entered, a day or 2 ago. So Jonathan Bell coming through in 6th.
Barely any practice from that. Tony Moore will cross the line in 7th, and that will be the end. We don't even have a top 10 in this one. Only 7 drivers finishing race 1, which kind of just shows how tricky it is out there. You know, it's crazy to think that we've lost half the grid in one race. But yeah, no, absolutely incredible race on that one.
Yeah, I did expect there to be a lot of DNFs just because of the bumps we saw in Zandvoort. People hitting bumps and curbs and putting a wheel on the grass, and it just sends you into the wall. So I thought there'd be a high rate of attrition for this, and there has been. It's funny that now Alan starts from 7th place, which we've seen him come through.
Of course.
Seen him come through the field from 12th to 2nd or 3rd in 1 lap. So no doubt he will be right at the front, barring any incidents, which of course around here can happen.
No, exactly that. And of course, we had the huge accident, 4 karts involved. We saw wheels off in the middle of the track, and a huge disaster for those drivers. But of course, now we've got some of the quicker guys in the middle of the pack and at the back of the grid now. It's going to be a challenge for these drivers to get through cleanly on such a narrow circuit. So it's going to be definitely an interesting one to see for race 2, which will be coming up very shortly. So do please stick around if you are watching online. Again, if you do have any comments that you want to bring out, any shout outs or any drivers taking part, let us know in the comments and we will give you a shout out on the stream. But yeah, an incredible race 1 that we've had out there. And moving on with, of course, race 2, which is coming out shortly. You know, it's going to be an interesting one, I would say, with just the different drivers that we've got out there. We've got new drivers who are new to the karts, who are going to be right in the middle of the pack now, causing what you'd say Luke Austin, who finishes 5th, he's going to start 2nd, I think, 3rd, I think. So, it's going to be a really tough one, I think.
Yeah, Luke's got some good racecraft, but I don't think he's quite got the pace. But it's going to be really interesting to see who decides to defend and race and who just lets the leaders by. It can be, there's not really much point for defending for 12 minutes, but yeah, some drivers might fancy their chances at taking a podium, what with the championship still being undecided. So this will be a really interesting one.
Okay.
Of
course, if
DJ, we have
someone talking in your ear.
YouTube comment. Definitely not a
do
bird. Shout out for Jack Bird for still being here after all this time. 10 out of 10. Amazing that he's still got his sim, isn't it, DJ?
Well, yeah, I was gonna mention again, very disappointed that I still don't have ownership of that simulator, despite the fact that he did lose it from Zandvoort round 1 for not finishing in the top 10, I think it was. But yeah, so is that Jack Bird commenting on himself there?
It's definitely not a bird.
Kudos to
That's
it.
his name.
Well,
It says, so it's definitely not him, DJ. I can assure you of that.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's definitely not Jack Bird commenting on himself. There we go. Well, that's narrowed that one down. But no. But, we had dramas in that race, still without even seeing them. I'm hearing in my ear, Ocean Sharky almost ran out of fuel in that one. So pushing the car right to the edge of the limit and almost potentially losing that 2nd place because he almost ran out of fuel. And that would have been a huge disaster, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I guess that fuel management isn't really on the drivers' minds. You wouldn't expect after 15 minutes to run out. So it's lucky we don't have a warm-up lap, or else I think we would have seen a fair few more drivers struggling to make the finish. They must have done, 10 laps? About 1.5 minutes per lap, maybe 9 laps. So amazing how quickly these karts drink the fuel.
Yeah, so incredibly, these are thirsty engines, and the tanks on these karts are not big. I've worked in some form of worked in karting before, and they do run out of fuel very, very quickly. Depending on them, they don't last a long time, and of course drivers are not going to completely fill the tank. They want to put as little fuel in that tank as humanly possible to get the race done, but of course to save weight as much as possible. So it's an incredibly fine line of how much fuel you actually put in.
Yeah, I think round here every kilo would cost you quite a fair bit of time, because there's a lot of corners and some slower ones where you have to accelerate out. So yeah, that would be my strategy, is to put in the minimum amount. I think we'll be topping that up a bit between races, and hopefully we'll have a few more finishes this time.
Yeah, incredibly so. Well, of course, I still haven't bought the book yet, but I do feel like I need to. Will, why don't you talk us through Evenflow?
Yeah, so this cracking book here by Terence Dev of Evenflow, Learn How to Master the Art of Kart Driving, which obviously has worked well for Alan with his multiple wins in the championship. One of the best kart books, probably the best kart books that I've ever read, and I really highly recommend that you pick this up, and also subscribe to Evenflow, Terence Dev, and he'll send you little nuggets of wisdom on a regular basis. So yeah, check out evenflow.co.uk.
Yeah. So any tips and tricks of racing, of course, you can take part in it as well by joining some sim teams that are out there looking for drivers. Pulse Sim Sport, again, looking for experienced sim racers to join their team in Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, and of course rFactor 2, the platform that we are racing on now. You can contact them via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. It's Pulse Sim Sport. You can see the details on your screen there. But again, it's going to be a tricky one for race 2, I would say. And well, you've been doing a lot of sim racing yourself, haven't you?
Yes. Nothing like this. I've not driven these karts. I really wish that I'd entered the championship now. It looks like brilliant fun. But yeah, a lot of simming and hopefully some stuff in real life this year. So it'll be great to see some of the drivers from this championship out in real life. So if you ever do see DJ or I at any tracks, please come and say hi, because it's been so much fun watching you.
Yeah, definitely so. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for that one. So I got very distracted. Just being told about Rye House and many things going on at Rye House. But yeah, it's Rye House, very interesting circuit. I like Rye House, but yeah, it takes me back to some of those eventful days with Alpha Live commentating and working on some cameras and putting cameras out. It's been an interesting one, and having a fan as well. Yes, I do remember that actually. Yeah, it's just been brought up. My fan, I don't remember their name, but they were very committed with the comment section on the chat, and yeah, it was an interesting experience to say the least. Something I wasn't used to, and
the director's telling me that they wanted signed photographs, so better get used to it, DJ, because you've hit the big time with this.
Not.
After Chris McCarthy commentated on the Karting1 SuperKart, Le Mans esports picked him up, didn't they? So there's big things to come for you, DJ.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I knew he was doing that way before anyone else did, and it was it was one of those who was only taking part for that one because I was away. I can't remember why I missed round 2. I'm trying to think what it was. I think I was working on some Formula E work. Yeah. So the race at home challenge, working on that, which of course I'm sure some of you who are watching this, I'm sure have seen online. You can catch that still. I checked earlier today. You can on BBC iPlayer as well.
Oh, that's great. If I want more fix of Anthony Jordan, then I can head over to iPlayer and listen to your...
Well, I wasn't commentating on that, was I?
Oh, were you not?
I wasn't commentating on it. No, of course not. No, I wasn't. I'm not nowhere near good enough for that. But no, I was helping out with in terms of actually broadcasting it and doing that. So that was my role in it. Wasn't commentating in that. So you won't hear or see me mention at all in that. I'm clearly not that big enough for that. But anyway, going into race 2, of course, the reverse grid that we've seen in the previous ones. I'm sure these guys are going to be building up to this one very, very soon. We'll get this one out for you in just a moment, and of course you'll see the grids as well. The grids will be important. We'll see those in terms of where everyone's actually going to be starting. Well, apparently we do not have the grids as of yet. We'll see if they do come in later on. No, apparently it can't be fixed at the moment, which is a disaster. The people at home aren't going to be able to know where people are going to be finishing, but we'll try and guess for people to try and figure out how to do it. So who finished in 7th place again from the previous round, Will?
Andy Dean, was it? No, he was part of that big collision.
He was part of that big collision, yes. I'm trying to rack your brains here to see if you can remember. I've put you on the spot here.
Tony Moore.
I'm pretty sure it was Tony Moore. There you go. But yeah, so he's going to be starting on pole then, because of course it's not going to be the guys who DNF'd. Those guys are not going to be part of the reverse grid. That is purely because they DNF'd. They don't get that same privilege as the other drivers will. So there we go. So Tony Moore, I believe, will be starting on pole, and of course we'll have Alan Dove, who'll be starting 7th place. So that's going to be the one to keep an eye on in this next race that will be coming up very, very soon. It's apparently 2 minutes left of warm-up, apparently in my ear. So they'll be coming out very, very soon. And you can stop listening to us blabbering on. And apparently, in this little gap that we've had, there's been a sprinkling of rain. And apparently, there's quite a bit of spray out in Circuit Will.
Now, this will spice things up a lot. I think that this could, who's going to go with what tyres? Is there any way to know whether more rain is coming or not? Because, it could be worth taking a gamble and sticking some wet tyres on if the rain's coming down more and more. It'll be really interesting to see. Go on, DJ.
Well, I am hearing about just spray. I'm not hearing that it's actually raining itself. It sounds like that potentially it's rained, it's stopped raining, and it's just spray on the circuit. Now that could be an interesting one, whether or not you hold off on wet tyres and stick to slicks. You have terrible first couple of laps, but then a dry line will form, and then you'll be the fastest man out there. That potentially could be a way of doing it, but is there enough time? There's only a 15-minute race.
It's amazing how quickly the track does dry up with, 10 or 13 karts going around with warm tyres. But of course, it will really, if anyone hits these curbs and gets launched in the air, they won't have the grip to quickly correct it. They'll slide and maybe end up in the wall. And I have to give a shout out here to Chris Cash, who's watching for the first time with interest. Chris is a highly accomplished sim racer and rain expert. So it's a shame we don't have Chris racing, because when he raced in real life up in Three Sisters, whenever it rained, Chris was right at the front. So welcome to the show, Chris.
There you go, Three Sisters. That's a great circuit as well. I have been to Three Sisters twice before, and one time it was lovely weather, and the second time it was absolutely hammering it down, and we lost half of the track as well to standing water. We had to do a different version of the track for the races, and yeah, that was a very, very, very interesting race in that one for those guys. But yeah, it's being told in my ear as well, a minimal spray out on the track, so nothing too sketchy, so maybe it will be slightly easy.
And we're hearing that Jack Dex has just entered the race, so maybe he's come back from racing in real life and has just managed to get on in time to show us what he could have done.
Well, apparently we're heading to the grid in just a moment. He's done zero practice on this car and track, as far as I'm aware, and he potentially could join this race. We'll have to see if he does. I think he has, I think he is at the back of the grid for this one.
Brilliant. That's great. It's good to have Jack along. He's always massively entertaining, and it'll be really good to see where he gets up to in this. I think that if he manages to keep it on the island, he'll be definitely in the top 5.
Oh yeah, definitely so, and we'll definitely have to keep an eye on him in this one. But on board with Rich Puddle, hopefully there isn't many of those round the track. Hopefully it is just a little bit of spray as the revs rise. Looks like a slight jump start there from the driver in front. You can see the spray, and that's a terrible start from the 23. Tony Moore, terrible start from the lead, absolutely bogged down there and right down the order. Back at the front, Harry Buck though, second place. We're on board here with Ocean Sharky in fourth place.
Jonathan Bell's off.
And is that Jonathan Bell? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Jonathan Bell straight off the track. So up into third place now for Sharky. And you can see just how quickly these guys make mistakes as they go through now into Shell Hairpin. Back on board with Ocean Sharky. Third place, looks down the inside of Harry Buck. There's a bit of contact. Can't get it done, and it forces him off the track. And I'm sure the stewards will have a quick look at that one after the race. But you can see Harry Buck's frustration trying to get back on the track. And a huge disappointment for that at the start of this race. But as they go through, 14 minutes left on the clock, nearly at halfway round the first lap as we go in towards turns 10, 11 and 12 in this very tricky section of track. You can see there Daniel Fletcher trying to get past Sharky. Or is that Alan Dove who's trying to get past at the moment? I believe it was, yeah, on board with Fletcher now. Alan Dove in front, looking at Ocean Sharky as they're heading now towards Druid's corner. Druid's a very, very fast corner.
Alan's
double
off.
apex. And Alan is off the circuit, yeah.
Oh.
Huge disappointment for him. Back down now into P4, so that's given a bit of breathing space for Daniel Fletcher, who I think almost sent it down the inside there of Ocean Sharky. Manages also to keep that on the track, but an interesting first lap so far, Will.
Yeah, really interesting. Great to see Daniel Fletcher's managed to get up to second from last, nearly. So great drive from him. Jack Dex has managed to get up to 7. And I think Alan Dove is just going to gather himself together. Well, yeah, he's under a bit of pressure now from Ocean Sharky, but once he... Oh, wow, Sharky's done him. So brilliant move around the outside there. Just managed to use the grip of driving offline to go right round the outside of Alan Dove. So all to play for here. And Luke, brilliant drive from him. Best drive we've ever seen so far. Up to 6th. round the outside, following rich puddle. So yeah, it'd be great to see what Luke can do, given that he's had no practice at all.
Yeah, that too. And of course, we've seen the rest of these guys. A person who I definitely want to give a shout out to, Jack Dex, is up into P7.
I'd expect that from Jack, cracking driver. He's you just stick him in and that's it. He's away.
Yeah, and the fact that he's joining this race with wet conditions as well, the first wet race that we've seen in the championship so far at one of the tightest, twistiest circuits. Alan Dove trying to make this the hardest race, probably, of the championship, as we go on board with 8th place man Harry Buck in that pink liveried SuperKart as he goes through the Druids corner in towards the final couple of corners now. Of course, as you go down this section, everyone thinks this is the last corner, turn 16 Lodge, but actually it's this corner here, 17 Deer Leap, as he goes through now. Back here with 3rd place, Ocean Sharky and Daniel Fletcher, and it looks like Sharky's closed right up. He's in his element here with a little bit of water, and it's definitely going to be one as he goes through.
I think it's those fins that really help DJ. So we'll see, is he going to be able to take a bite out of Daniel Fletcher? Oh, he's so
no,
there.
he's a... Oh dear, I think Sharky's got the best one for puns, hasn't he?
Stephen Calvert, cracking drive, 2.6 seconds ahead of Daniel Fletcher. So, yeah, he's looking strong at the moment. Where's Alan Dove? Okay, 2 seconds behind Oisin Sharky. So, all to play for. Jack Dex is up to 6th now.
Yeah, so it looks like
Luke Austin must have had a crash.
Yeah.
Obviously, not his fault. Something must have happened.
Well, I'm going to say it was most likely definitely his fault. So there we go. It always usually is when we go racing on Sim Racing. We do a little race session ourselves every Tuesday nights on rFactor, and yeah, Luke's usually the one who causes the accident. And he tries to blame it on me, and I don't know why. But back with Sharky here in 3rd place. He's still trying to hunt down Daniel Fletcher. He looked like he had an opportunity earlier on, and it looks like he's got a much better line through that corner. He holds a little bit more on the inside. Daniel did run wide. Now, it's not unusual for drivers to run wide in wet conditions. Of course, it is the favourable line. You want to stay off the racing line when it's wet, due to, of course, the wet rubber on the wet rubber. So you want to stick to the dirty part of the track on the outside, off the racing line. That's where you'll find the grip. But these guys seem to be liking that racing line still.
I'm just amazed that these guys are still running on dry tyres. Does anyone know if we can see what tyres they're running on? But it looks like they've got an incredible amount of grip for the spray that there is. But yeah, Daniel Fletcher ran really wide in that corner, and yeah, just one wheel on the curb or on the grass, and it's going to spin him round. So I think he'll want to be careful and just lock in a 2nd place rather than going all out for the lead. So on board.
Yep.
Oh, Alan's in the pits. What's happened?
Dove, yeah.
Oh, no.
He's just retired from the race. So, interesting stuff for Alan Dove. He seems to, yeah, like you say, retired from the race on this one. So, that's a huge disaster for him. And in terms of points, that's, I think, going to be gifting this one, really, to Fletcher, I would say.
Yeah, unless you've commentators cursed him, DJ. And Fletcher gets a DNF. So, Daniel Fletcher's just taken the lead. So I think Stephen Calvert's lobbed it off. He's now 5 seconds behind. No, he's in the wall. Oh, no. Oh, poor Steve. That was looking like a well-deserved podium, but he's crashed it somehow. So it'd be great to see when these replays come out.
Well, yeah, big shame for that one. So running well in 1st place, but back now in the lead. Daniel Fletcher, after his disastrous first race for round 5, now leading the way in race 2 with 8 minutes left of the clock, nearly about halfway distance now on the time remaining. Back here to 4th place, Jack Dex, his first time out in the kart round this track in these conditions as well. Joining us at the last moment and up into 4th place. So incredible drive from him at the moment. Of course, we have lost a couple of drivers. Of course, 2 incidents out on circuit, which I think were expected as well. We saw them in dry conditions, let alone slightly damp conditions.
I think that these conditions will probably be helping Jack. Actually, he's got brilliant kart control, and everyone else has got experience of this track, racing on this track in the dry. So, you know, it's really a leveler. And Jack Dex isn't too far behind third place man Richard Standing Water. So, yeah, 4 seconds to catch up. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so about 4 or 5 seconds he has the gap. Let's see if he tries to close it down. Looking at the times, in terms of sector times between the two, Jack Dex Sector 1 is a 31.390 compared to Richard Puddle's 31.317. So through Sector 1 and not Sector 2, actually, I would say. He's faster through Sector 1. But through Sector 2, Jack Dex there, that time around, was half a second faster. So he is clawing that time out, but it's at a very slow pace. And I don't think he's going to manage to close that down in 6.5 minutes' time. But interesting development. Still close at the front. Only a second between Sharky and Fletcher as they go through. Here's Sharky in that very bright, colourful livery, going through now in towards Shell Hairpin. You can see there the gap. It's not large. You thinking that Sharky's looking for a potential win in this one?
I think so. He's going to be really, really pushing hard. And Daniel Fletcher, now that Alan's out, he doesn't have anything to lose, so he can fight all he wants to go out with another victory to add to his, what is it now, 3, including the GP plate at Silverstone. So. Yeah. And Dean Hale apparently has had a crash, so he must. Oh, he's stuck in the gravel.
Oh, there
so
he
now
is.
we're down to 7 runners. Yeah, so Luke is in the top 7. Brilliant drive from Luke.
Gifted drive, I'm going to say, but yeah, that's the problem with these karts, because they're so low to the ground. Of course, they do get stuck in the gravel traps here, and compared to some of the bigger cars that you can get on the rFactor platform, they don't usually get stuck in the gravel. But because these karts are so low to the ground, not much clearance, they are getting stuck.
And no such problems for Daniel Fletcher, who's cruising round in this race. I'm hearing from Terence Dove that Alan Dove has disqualified himself for being underweight. I'm not entirely sure that that's true, Terence, but I was hoping that someone had come up with an idea of why Alan had just pulled into the pits again. But yeah, if Alan is on the line, please let us know what's happened to you.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah, like I say, I'm just looking at the comments section now. Yeah, I can see that he has DQ'd himself. Yeah, it's looking through some of the comments now. We've had quite a few, but no, it's one of those. But here we are back with Richard Puddle in 3rd place.
The gap has closed to 3 seconds between Jack and Rich, so closing up ever so slightly, but with 4 minutes left. That's what, 3 laps? So I don't think there's enough time unless something happens to Rich. But this is the first time we've seen him in this championship, and great to get a podium, especially on such a challenging track like this. And Luke Austin now up to 6th, so I think we've lost someone else. I'm not quite sure who. Rodney Rayborn, apparently. So yeah, I don't know what happened to Rodney, but that's a shame. We're down to 6 runners. And it's all spread out a bit now, so yeah, I don't think anyone's under particular pressure. Hopefully everyone now on track will finish.
Well, hopefully so. Yeah, 3.5 minutes left on the clock. It's going to be tough for these drivers to close those gaps. Here is your 5th place man, Harry Buck, again in that pink livery. Luke Austin behind him in 6th place. I'm sure Luke is backing off. He doesn't want to show up anyone and take over some of the racing. He wants to leave these guys to race for the championship. He doesn't want to show them up, I would suspect. Yeah. So yeah, he's hanging back, I think. Yeah, in 6th place. But Harry Buck there flying through. It looks like, is he trying to stay off the racing line at some aspects of the corner? Because if he has gone for those wet tyres, if there is a dry line forming, if he's sticking to the dirty part of the circuit off the dry line. Is that because the tyres are slightly overheating?
Yeah, we don't know who's on what tyres, but I'm hearing from Stephen Calvert that it got too wet for his slicks, so he must have just lobbed it off. Of course, it's incredibly hard to drive in the wet on slicks, and particularly in these with so many bumps and 100 horsepower. We're hearing from Alan Dove as well that he lobbed it off. So terrible shame for Alan. But yeah, it's win it or bin it with Alan, isn't it? It's brilliant to watch him because you just never know what he's going to do.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with Alan Duff. But
Yeah.
Daniel Fletcher, though, still leading the way. Lap 8 for him at the moment. He's opened that gap now to 5 seconds from Sharkey in second place. And then Richard Puddle in third place, still holding on those top 3 at the moment, sticking within those white lines, staying off the curbs, the clean way around the track. Nice and calm movements and small movements with that steering wheel as well, because you've got to remember these are quick, darty karts. They will do exactly what you tell it to do, and if you decide to just chuck it into a corner and expect a bit of oversteer, you're going to have a bad day, I would say.
And yeah, I'm hearing Jack is slowly gaining, but I just don't think it would be enough time now. We might get one more lap in. So yeah, it looks very settled now. Daniel Fletcher's just a brilliant performance at the front to take 7 seconds nearly. So okay, now DJ, can I ask you, who's your driver of the championship?
It's still not over. There's still 50 odd seconds left of the race. It's not over yet. Driver of is that driver of the championship? Sorry, was that driver of the race?
A bit both. We'll go with both.
We'll go with both. Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with my Steve Calvert for driver of the championship because he has shown great skill and performance throughout the season, and of course, you know, it's just been the unfortunate parts here and there where he's had incidents, but you know, he has shown great pace, and I just feel if he could just fine-tune those areas, I reckon he would be a definite contender, and that's, I think, why I'm going to make him my driver of the championship. And driver of the race on this one, oh, you know, I've got to give it to Dex. I've got to give it to Jack Dex.
Yeah,
you know, he's come out of
so.
nowhere on this one, and you know, it's flat out pace. He's closing the gap up into P4. Rich Puddle just ahead as well, and the gap between these two now is just around about the 2 second mark.
I did say that Jack Dex has missed a consistency during the last race, and how he'd finished 4th in basically every race, and here we go again. He's finished 4th, so definitely my driver of the race. I think driver of the championship, it has to go to Daniel Fletcher really, because in every single round he's been right at the front. We've seen very few mistakes from him. He's won the GP plate. I think he's won pretty much, you know, pretty much every round. So yeah, great performance from him. Stephen Calvert, it would have been brilliant to see him finish it off with a win today, but his tyres, ambition overcame adhesion, I think, and very difficult to drive.
Exactly that. Well, Daniel Fletcher winning several of the races in this championship, but he's not going to say no to one more victory. He's got one more corner to negotiate. Turn 16 of Lodge as he goes through now, stays very clear from that inside curb, and up the hill he goes now. He's going to take the checkered flag this time around for the final race of the Karting1 SuperKart Championship, and he throws a 360 across the line and takes out the branding at the side of the track. There we go. That's one way to get cameras on there. Ocean Shark crossing the line in second place. Third place, is it still Puddle who's held on to it? Yes, it is. Jack Dex, though, with a great drive. He's going to hold on.
No.
Not to hold on to that. Jack Dex is
what
off.
What have you done, Jack?
Oh, dear me.
Is he still driver of the race?
I might take it back.
Oh, that's not going to work,
no.
Jack. Or will it? Look,
he's trying so hard.
Oh no!
I'm expecting to see a flash of pink fly by, but he's overheating that engine massively now, and there it is. Harry Buck there with a huge amount of luck. He takes another P4 finish then, or does he?
Oh, it's
He's
done
going to
the
be.
bits.
It's the bits. Yeah, the line first. There we go. Now he crosses in P4, and a nice again 360 for him. That was well executed there. But there we go. Luke Austin as well. He's going to cross the line in
In
P5.
5th.
I would say, yeah, it'll be P5.
Oh,
But
is
is he
he?
also going to go off? He's also gone off as well.
Oh, there must
dear
be an
me.
incredibly
Textbook driver
someone
there.
must have dropped some oil down there, because Luke could no way make a mistake like that. Brilliant driver as he is. But that's two. that gravel trap has claimed 2 victims. Oh no! So we had 4 finishes in that race. Unbelievable.
Oh dear. Oh dear. That was a dramatic end to that one. Well, all we have to say then really is a huge congratulations to all the competitors in this one, everyone who was watching and taking part, and all the organisers as well for this one. It's been a fantastic 5 rounds. Thank you to you, Will, and it's been a great 5 rounds. But we have to say huge congratulations though to Daniel Fletcher winning the final race of the championship and also taking the championship as well. A great victory for him.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Daniel. It's been so great to watch you all, and particularly some of your performances have been excellent. I'm hearing from Luke, well, my fronts definitely died in that race, so brilliant excuse there why he lobbed it off with 1 corner to go. But thank you so much for joining, everyone, and thank you to Alan for putting on this great championship. And we hope to see you all soon.
Yeah, definitely so. Thank you again to Alan. Alpha Live as well for doing that. And of course, some of the sponsors out there as well, Pulse and Everflow, Evenflow, I should say. The sponsors out there again. But thank you very much for everyone who's joining us here for these 5 rounds. It has been great. But from both myself and Will, we'll see you again in the near future.